On paper, a movie about Mark Zuckerberg and the creation of Facebook sounds like an incredibly lame idea for a movie. I would say in general that I have pretty much zero interest for corporate biopics as a genre. So then why is The Social Network one of my favorite movies of all time? One of the things that I absolutely love about the movie is how well it captures sort of this early 21st century shift that we saw where the old money establishment got completely disrupted by the rise of tech and the digital age. In the movie, the Winklevoss twins kind of represent this old money establishment, whereas Mark Zuckerberg and Sean Parker represent this new disrupting force that is the rise of social media and tech. The movie also kind of juxtaposes Harvard versus Silicon Valley. In the earlier segments of the movie, Harvard it's got all this old architecture. You get to see sort of like this old establishment, whereas later in the movie, the setting shifts towards Silicon Valley, and that is kind of like the new rising force in the American economy. Well, obviously the movie is a biopic and like it's just depicting stuff that happened in real life. It just worked out to really represent these kind of greater forces that were happening at the time. Another thing that I absolutely love about The Social Network is how it kind of shows the creation of social media by someone who is completely antisocial. And I think one of the best scenes in the movie really exemplifies this. It's very early on. It kind of cuts back and forth between Mark Zuckerberg sitting at home and blogging and writing kind of snide on the internet, and at the same time it's showing all these Harvard students going out socializing, partying. In essence, Mark Zuckerberg in this movie is kind of a loser. He's antisocial, he's kind of a loner. He sits at home on the internet talking about people, whereas everyone else is out socializing and having like a real social life in the real world. It's just kind of interesting to see a character such as Mark Zuckerberg be the one to create social media, like someone who's completely antisocial, creating the world's largest social network at the time. The movie also does sort of have all of these different archetypes that I think really do a good job of representing this general theme of old money being disrupted by the new tech establishment. On the one hand, some of the characters are sort of like these old money Ivy League bags, the Winklevi being kind of the primary representative of that. Meanwhile, you also have the tech bro Silicon Valley type of bags, specifically Mark Zuckerberg and Sean Parker. But in addition to all that, what really makes The Social Network work so well is that at its core, it's really a story about friendship and betrayal. So for example, you have the core drama of the movie, which is the friendship between Mark and Eduardo and how that kind of slowly falls apart. You also have Mark versus the Winklevi twins and how Mark stole their idea. You also have Eduardo versus Sean Parker, and he's kind of a big threat to Eduardo. He's kind of eclipsing his position in the hierarchy of Facebook. All of this drama is just so well executed, and what really makes it work is how great the acting performances are, as well as one of the best scripts that I've ever seen in any movie. This movie is just extremely quotable. There's so many memorable lines from start to finish. Also, on top of that, David Fincher applied his sort of perfectionist tendencies to take this amazing Aaron Sorkin script and just refine it to like this perfectly made film. And what really ties it all together in the end is the musical score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who I think delivered one of the best musical scores of all time. The original score for The Social Network is legitimately a 10 out of 10 album. You can just listen to it outside of the context of the movie and it's literally a perfect album, but in the context of the movie, it just really elevates every scene. Now, one thing that this movie does get criticism for is the fact that it's incredibly inaccurate to what happened in real life. But the way I see it is The Social Network is pretty much just a fictional story that is very loosely inspired by the real events that happened. Even though the movie is completely fictional, completely fabricated, it does really represent a lot of core truths. The movie is sort of telling the truth even when it lies, if that makes sense. Like, even though the story is pretty much made up in a lot of different aspects, what it represents actually is kind of the truth. So yeah, I just think it's a perfect movie. I absolutely love it. I'm gonna rate this movie a 5 out of 5 for my personal enjoyment, and it's a masterpiece. Thank you for watching, subscribe, and see you next time.